Alright, hi everyone. So this is kind of like an update video. A long time ago, I made a MMD for beginners tutorial sort of video. And at the time I made it because a lot of the tutorial videos that I had for MMD are now gone and deleted and completely missing. So I had some friends that were trying to get my advice on MMD and trying to understand MMD, and I was going to make this tutorial. I basically made the tutorial video to help them. And that video completely blew up over the course of like a couple years, which was not my intention. I'm glad the video helped some people, but I'm going to redo it just for the sake of clarity and having a better mic and explaining things a little bit better. Although I'm a little bit sick right now, so forgive me for that. But we're gonna jump into downloading MMD, installing MME, and just getting into the nooks and crannies of like how MMD works. So we're gonna get started. First thing you want to do is go into the description and go to this site called learnmmd.com, and then you can either click downloads or just click the link that I gave you. That'll take you straight to the downloads. The latest version of MMD is 9.31, so make sure you download this one. You can either download 32-bit or 64-bit. It's important that you know which one is yours, because you're understanding what your computer can and cannot handle, and whether or not MMD runs slow or fast is pretty important. So all you have to do is click the picture and it'll download. If you open it and you get an error message, most likely you need to go to this red box that says install additional software required. MMD needs this software in order to run, so most likely go to either 32-bit or 64-bit and download Microsoft Visual C++ 2008 and 2010. You'll also need DirectX end user runtime. If you need help with that, I can also try to make a tutorial video on how to install that, though they're relatively straightforward. You just need to extract them into a folder and run them. And yeah, so let me know if anyone needs help with that. So from there, you also need to scroll down some more to where it says MME effects. Yet again, there's 32-bit, 64-bit. Make sure you download the right one that corresponds to MMD, or else it may not work. So I'm gonna continue with 64-bit. You're gonna open up 𝖬𝖬𝖣. Now I already have it, but I'm gonna do it a second time. Extract it. Place the files. Open it up. I already have MME, but I'm gonna show you how to do it again. Open up MME. You basically need to get the 3 DLL files, extract them into the 𝖬𝖬𝖣 folder. From there, MMD should work, and you can open it up, and it should look like this. From here, you'll have you'll know you installed MME effect correctly if you see this in the corner. If not, go back and make sure that you have all the DLL files in here. Now, let's get started. We're going to focus on loading in our model first. So you want to go down to this red box where it says model manipulation. And for now, I'm going to keep the colors of MMD the default ones. You can change MMD, how MMD looks to different colors like pink, blue, orange, purple, red, whatever color you want. You can either edit the CSS yourself or find someone else who has a theme that you really like. Before I had it blue, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'm gonna keep it default just so you guys know what's going on. So here you can either click load, or you can just find your model and drag and drop it. Cool, so now you have your model. Usually what I do from here is I go to view and get rid of, well, I'll keep the coordinate axis because I'll explain that in a second. But I usually go to thickness of edge line, and usually around your model, you probably can't see it, but around your model it's this thick black line, and usually for the sake of things looking nice, I'll either turn it completely to 0 or 0.1 and then close it. From here, you're going to load your model or motion. So you want to go to File, Load Motion Data. You can also still just drag and drop it. Go to wherever your motion is. I'm going to use red flavor for this one. So red flavor has the motions separately. So it's the motion, the lip motion, and then the facial expressions are separate. Some motions do that. Not all motions do, but you'll have to load them in, so yeah. Cool. So from here, I'm going to talk about moving your model around. So what you can do is, I think it already has the groove bone selected. So what you can do is select and hit the groove bone. Most models have a groove bone. Not all models have a groove bone. Lap models are famous for not having groove bones. And there was a whole big thing about that, but I can talk about that some other time. But usually the groove bone is what moves the entire model. So what you want to do is select, figure out where the groove bone is. It's usually in between their feet somewhere. So you select that and hit move. I think this is it. Nope, it's not. I don't know what this one does. Let me zoom in some. It's one of these. I think it's this one. Yeah, so this is a groove bone. So you can do that to move it around. Or you can hit select all, which will select all the bones and then move, and also move it around to wherever you want. Or you can even go to edit, apply center position bias, and move it here. So this is where the grid comes in handy. So you have a grid. Usually if you've taken a math class before, you know how this works. X is the red line, it will move things left and right. Y is green, it will move things up and down. Z is blue, it will move things forward and back. So what you can do to move your models around is just do that. Uh-oh. Hold on. I think she's not moving. Wow, I wonder why. Usually this works. But usually you'll have to like do that to move the model around. This is in the case of if a motion is not made for multiple people and you want to load in multiple people anyway, you can move people over like this. Yeah. So from here, I'm going to get rid of the grid because obviously you're not going to want the grid 9 times out of 10. So you want to go to View, Display Coordinate Axis, click that and it'll go away. Now, we're going to load in the stage. Stages are weird. They can either be .pmd/pmx or .x. Both work very differently. I believe the stage that I have is pmx, so I'm going to load it in. But for the sake of this, you can also you can drag and drop any file into PMD. Or not PMD, and MMD, and let it figure it out for you. And I'm also gonna do thickness of line edge for this one too. So now that I have my stage, you'll see that there's this gray box. That's just the shadow. So if you hit View and hit Display Ground Shadow, that'll go away. I also need to load in my dome, which I'm pretty sure is a .x file, but I'm gonna drag and drop it just to be sure. Yeah, .x. Cool. So, let's load in the camera. To load in the camera, you need to go to Model Manipulation. Make sure you select Camera/Light/Accessory, or else this will not work. Go to File, Load Motion Data, or drag and drop it. This is Camera. There we go. So now we have our camera. For the sake of seeing our effects load in, I'm gonna just move it though. Cool. Usually cameras and motions are both .vmd files, and it's a bit confusing to tell them apart. But usually if you try to load a camera as a motion, MMD will tell you like, hey, this is a camera. Or if you try to load in a motion as a camera, MMD will tell you that, hey, this is not a camera. So you'll figure it out as long as you like keep messing around with stuff. Now let's load in music. Usually music, most motion creators won't give you the music to the actual motion just for the sake of copyright. But for this sake, I've converted the music to a WAV file. So I'm gonna go to File, Load, 𝖬𝖣, however you want to say it, File. And then figure out where it is. You can also, like I said, drag and drop. So when you hit play, the music probably won't play. You want to go to File, Play 𝖬𝖣 with Frame, and make sure that that's checked. There's a volume button, so I'm gonna turn that up, and we're gonna play that. Hold on, let me pause my other music. We're gonna play that for a second. There you go. I don't know if the music is in sync, so I probably gotta fix that in editing. So, we have our music, we have our camera, we have our motion. Let's load in. We already loaded in our stages. Let's get to effects. So, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm gonna talk about .fx files. But I also tend to use raycast a lot, and raycast is really, really weird. There are people that can explain and can use raycast a lot better than I can. Me and raycast have a difficult relationship, and we're still working through it, so give me some time. But usually the way this MME effect thing works is that you will load in the .x file of the effect. Then you will go to MME effect and load the .fx onto the model. So let me just show you how this works for raycast. I'm using a little bit older version of raycast, but I have both version 1.3 and 1.5. But what you do is you load in ray.x, at least the very basics of this. And depending on your computer, raycast may take a second to load just because it's a really good big file. I'm going to load in raycontroller.pmx, and we will talk about controllers in a second. But just so we have it, I'm going to put it in there. Now from here, you want to put in the skybox. So there are different skyboxes to make raycast look different. For the various times of day, whether that's during the daytime, the nighttime, golden hour, sunset, stuff like that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna load in sky pink. And what you do first is you load the .pmx of that. And I'm gonna go back to camera. Now what you want to do is go to MMD effect in the corner, hit effect mapping, and you need to go to the tab where it says 𝖬𝖣 light map, and then go to sky HDR.pmx set effect, and you want to go to the skybox and load in sky lighting.fx. So once that's in, then you go to main, and then you load in main.fx. So you go back, go to the main folder, load in main.fx. Boom, there you go. Apply. Okay. So we're looking pretty good so far. From here on out, there's various other effects. Actually, let me load in her. Alright, apply. Okay. From here, you can put in your other effects. The rest of my effects are .x, but we're going to talk about the accessory manipulation box here. So, from here, you move things along the grid in this box if it's a .x file, sorry. So, like I said, .x will move things left and right, Y will move things up and down, Z will move things forward and back. Rotating stuff, I never remember which way things rotate, so usually I just put in a number and figure it out. So I'm sorry if that wasn't helpful, but basically RX, RY, RZ will rotate stuff based on that axis. SI is size. You can make things bigger or smaller. Putting in a bigger number, bigger positive number will make things bigger. Putting in a negative number will make things smaller. Typically, not always, sometimes. Transparency. Transparency is just how transparent something is. It's usually from 0.00 to 1. 1 is completely completely, what's the word? I can't think of it. Completely solid, you can see it. If you want to make it more transparent, you need to make it 0. something, 0.5, 0.6, 0. whatever, to make it more ghost looking like. What else? Oh, let's talk about the ray controller. So, controllers. Some effects come with controllers. It's basically to manipulate certain things, usually how bright, the contrast, certain effects. In this case, you have sunlight, which make things look really weird. You have contrast. You also have saturation, stuff like that. So you mess with the sliders of it. Make sure when you mess around with controllers, you always hit register. Also, when you mess around with accessory manipulation, make sure you also hit register. Always register everything when you're done, or else it won't do the thing. MMD will not remember and be like, oh, you didn't hit register, so that doesn't count. Now I'm going to load in my other effects, which are all .x. And the difference between .x and .fx is usually .x files will affect, how do I put this, the field. So everything that's loaded into MMD is affected, versus .fx and going into effect mapping and stuff will affect what you tell it to affect when you're trying to target one specific thing. Okay, so we're almost done. Let's talk about the play button and then rendering. So, usually, I don't know what from frame and stop frame means, but you can probably Google it. Usually play, well, obviously play the motion so you can see how everything looks. Repeat, obviously is going to repeat the motion. So once your model's done dancing, it'll dance again if you just want to continue watching it on repeat forever. From frame. So this is basically what if you want it to play from in between certain frames. This corresponds to this box over here where it says bone/frame manipulation, this brown looking box. You can drag and pick a frame. So for example, if I tell it to play from frame 0 to frame 1000, it'll stop once it hits that frame. See, so it cut off at frame 1000. So that's what that's about. Let me see, do I want to mess around with lighting? Just a bit. So obviously you can mess around with lighting too, but I'm not that good at lighting, so I usually don't mess with it. But basically the way the light manipulation box works is you have RGB, which that gives the light different tints of color. X will rotate the lighting left and right. Y will rotate it, oh god, oh god, this way. Just how long it will stretch out. Z rotates stuff this way. Like I said, I don't typically mess around with lighting too much. So, usually at this point, you might be ready to render if you're happy with your effects and stuff. So, from here, you want to go to File, Render to AVI File, and then figure out where you want to put it. Give it a title. Oh, I have on all caps. Give it a title. So, frame rate. People, you can mess around with frame rate. Basically, what frame rate does is it's frames per second, and I'm not really too good at the technicality of this, but the higher your frame rate is, the more smooth the animation will look, or the movements will look, because there's more frames. And basically in the way that I can understand it is that the way MMD works is it takes a picture, aka a frame, every so many pictures per second. So I might take 30 pictures per second and like mash it together into a video. So 30. Obviously, if you go up to 60, there's more, so it looks more smoother. There have been people that I think went all the way up to 120. You can mess around with that if you want to. I usually keep mine at 60. So you want to go to 0 to the end of the... Oh, it won't let me. To the end of the motion. So if you go back, because I messed up, I apologize. If you go back to the bone/frame manipulation box and hit the arrow with the line next to it, this will take you to the last frame in the video. So that way you know where to stop the recording at. And sometimes I put in just an extra 100 frames just to be on the safe side. But you don't have to. And then video compressor, AVI raw. You can pick a different video compressor or video type. I used to do Microsoft, but for some reason it's not on here anymore. So it's just AVI raw. AVI files are really, really, really big files. So MMD, if you render a whole bunch of MMD videos, eventually they will take up space on your computer and you might have to delete some to make more room. It used to be an issue where with older versions of MMD, if you try to render an AVI, it wouldn't work. It works for me now, but depending on how old your computer is and like what your graphics are and all your like your business going on, it may or may not work. I haven't heard from anyone about AVI not working anymore, but that's up to you. Also, 𝖬𝖬. Make sure you check output wave, 𝖬𝖬, however you want to say it, or else it'll render without the music. But like I said, 9 times out of 10 you may not have the music and you'll just have to put it in while you're editing the video. Hit OK. And you'll get this box where MMD is basically slowly, ever so slowly, rendering your video. Now for some people this may take 5 minutes, for some people this may take hours. Like I said, it depends on how good of a computer you have. My computer is okay, like it's decent, so this shouldn't take very long. Maybe about a good 10-15 minutes and this will be done. From there you can go into editing and that's basically it. So yeah, I guess leave any questions you have in the description box. Oh god. Leave any questions you have in the comment box below. YouTube isn't exactly good at letting me know when people are commenting or letting me see comments sometimes. So I apologize in advance if I don't really answer any questions that you may have. But yeah.